and Pete Hegseth, the US Secretary of War, has gone inside. He didn't speak to the press, but we did hear from Mark Rutte, the NATO Secretary General, who confirmed to us that US cuts in contributions to NATO will be effective immediately. So essentially the United States is saying it will no longer supply certain assets to NATO in the event of war, including things like certain F-16s, F-35s, certain bombers, submarines. And Mark Rutte making the point this morning that European and Canadian allies will have to fill that gap immediately. Also on the agenda, of course, is that Iran deal that the United States signed last night in Versailles and the implications that will have for NATO allies. Now, remember, NATO is not taking part in this war and is not taking part in the reopening formally of the Strait of Hormuz, but NATO countries led by France and the UK have signed up to a mission that will reopen and re-secure the Strait of Hormuz within the coming days and weeks. So the implications will be significant there. But also on the agenda is a major talking point in relation to Ukraine. And Volodymyr Zelenskyy, the Ukrainian President, will be here. There is a hope from the Ukrainian perspective that there can be a refocus back into the war in Ukraine, given that hopefully the Iran deal could materialise and bring that conflict to an end. Maeve?
And meanwhile, of course, Shona, this evening, EU leaders will be meeting with China, the Middle East and the EU budget, very much top of the agenda.
That's right. And we know that budget discussions in the European Union are confrontational and rancorous at the best of times. And the beginning of these negotiations is no different. That budget needs to be sealed and done by the end of 2027. So that will be very much on the topic for discussion today. Also, there's a growing consensus within the European Union that the EU needs to be stronger when it comes to dealing with trade measures from China, in particular in relation to overcapacity that is really impacting the European markets and the European economy, also in relation to Chinese subsidies. And there will also be discussion on the Middle East and the decision whether or not to deal with occupied territories in Palestine. So there's a two-day summit beginning this evening and ongoing tomorrow.